Nice to all be here together, and I think we all know Hine Matov. So let's sing to start and get us in the space. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Really nice to be here, sitting together, brothers and sisters. So I'll just build on what we did last time, and this time emphasizing a bit more silence and practice. But we'll do
Was everyone here last
I'll do a bit of a recap. So to recap a bit, all of Judaism is already a mindfulness practice. Ordinary Jewish practice, prayer, Torah study, immersion in the Sabbath, all of that is an entire guide to an entire spiritual practice. And there is considerable spiritual power in these traditional, normal Jewish practices. We're supposed to say 100 blessings a day. When we get up, go to the bathroom, wash our hands, eat, get dressed, everything we do can be an awareness practice in order for us to say these 100 blessings a day. Our practice of blessing is a mindfulness practice. We do it all the time, or we can do it all the time. We take a moment of delayed gratification before we enter a room, touch a mezuzah, pause. How are we entering this room? Are we entering with anxiety? Are we entering with peace? Are we entering with worry? Each time we enter a room, touch a mezuzah can be a meditation moment or a mindfulness moment. And last time, we did an eating meditation. For those that you weren't here, we ate a raisin mindfully. Interesting thing to do. So 100 times a day we take a moment to be aware, a moment to wonder and appreciation. We create a space before we consume, before we enjoy something. We don't walk unconsciously through the day or uncaring throughout our day. We are living in this Jewish mindfulness practice. The usual ways of meditating, as Michelle has experienced these last couple of weeks, are sitting in silence or meditating on a word or a biblical phrase or reflecting on the day's events. And these are the usual ways of prayer and of our Jewish rituals, of our study and our celebrations. So last time we talked a little bit about your teaching on the Shema and how that can be a meditation in itself, to meditate on the Shema and the different ways of looking at it in the words. So each facet of our life is an opportunity for meditative awareness. As I said before, when we wash our hands, when we prepare food, even when we get dressed in the morning, there's rituals around which foot you put down first, and that can be just being conscious of every movement and making it mindful. And when we do these practices, it helps us see more clearly throughout the day, and our mind is calmer, and we're just more awake of everything we're doing. Hey, Paul. Let's grab a seat. No, you got to join the cycle, sorry. So meditation and silence are very Jewish. Silence is very Jewish, believe it or not. So I'm going to give you some examples from the Mishnah, from Pirkei Avot, about silence. Chapter 1, all my life I have lived among wise teachers, yet I have found nothing better for oneself than silence. Rather than study, practice is the main teacher. Solomon Ibn Gabriel says, in seeking wisdom, the first step is silence. And our alphabet starts with an aleph, which is like a breath in of silence before going to bed. The great scholar, Rabbi Elijah of Vilna, once advised his students that it is often more effective to fast with words than with food. A fast of words, a struggle with silence, can teach us how often we misuse them. To be without words refurbishes our sense of their radiance. Silence can create space above the chatter. It allows one to hear that which might otherwise be ignored. And Abraham Joshua Heschel said, God begins where words end. So let's do some silent meditation. We did some last time, and we'll just do a bit more this time. So the mindfulness of the breath can help you learn to focus, as the breath is always there, easy to observe. You don't have to find something. It's not particularly any reason, it's just that it's always there. Our breath is always there. The English word spirit is related to respiration. The Hebrew word for soul, neshama, and breath, neshima, have the same root. Ruach means spirit, but also wind or movement of air, which is like breath. And Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 says, God formed the human of the dust of the soil. He blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and the human became a living being. So when we pay attention to our breath, we're paying attention to the divine animating life force. So let's try some now. So the first thing we do is just to sit comfortably. However, this is not really, I'm not going to give you a direction on how to sit. Just be comfortable so you don't have to kind of keep moving around for just a couple of minutes. I'll take my special iPhone that has
Never tell the time.
I'll do a timer. So I don't make it too long or too short. Okay. So you can close your eyes or partly close your eyes or leave them open, but sometimes when you leave your eyes open it's distracting, but no rules there either. So you just notice whatever thoughts or feelings are present in your mind, and you begin to focus on your breath. I'll give the directions first before we do it, but you're welcome to just start. And notice the arising and the passing of the breath. So notice how it feels when it comes in through your nostrils. Notice if it's cool or warm. Notice where it goes when after you breathe it in into your lungs, to your whole body. And notice any physical sensations that you have while you're breathing. The simple meditation that we did last time was we were breathing the divine name. The letters of the divine name, Yud, He, Vav, and He, are all soft sounds, and they're midway between consonants and vowels. They constitute nothing harder than the breath itself. The mysterious name of God cannot be spoken, but it can be breathed. We begin with the letter He. He appears twice in the letters that make up God's name. When you say the He out loud, He is the sound of breathing. The out-breath and the in-breath both make the same sound of He. And there's a perspective that since pronouncing the letter He is the same as breathing, there's a connection between breathing and God's name. Jewish mystics have understood the letter Yud to be connected to the concept of emptiness. So if you imagine the Yud as the state of emptiness that occurs before the in-breath. So imagine the Yud of emptiness, the empty space before the in-breath, and then the first He, the in-breath itself. At the end of the in-breath, before the start of the out-breath, the lungs are full, and this can be represented by the letter Vav, for fullness. the whole cycle of breathing can connect to the divine name. You're breathing the name of God. Yud, empty. Hey, breath in. Vav, full. Hey, breath out. All breath is the breathing in and out of God's name. That to live by the simple fact of breathing is to recite the name of God. And this is what the psalmist says. Every breath praises God, hallelujah. Kol ha-neshama tel hallelujah. When we do this exercise, your mind will probably wander. Don't worry or judge. Simply and gently bring your focus back to the breath and connection to the divine name. It's the returning to the breath that is central. The practice is noticing when your mind wanders from the breath and bringing it back. If you're uncomfortable with using the Hebrew letters, consider saying to yourself, empty, in, full, out. So we can practice Yud, empty, Hey, breath in, Vav, full, Hey, breath out. Or just empty, in, full, out. So let's practice that for 1 minute. See what it starts like. See what it starts like. What it feels like. Sorry, I just have to have 1 minute on my thing. To just do that for 1 minute. Okay? Begin. That was 1 minute. How was that for? Did anyone manage to do Yud Hey Vav Hey or in out or?
I found that when I focus on the letters, I regulate the breath and I can make it constant. That meditation I've just been practicing the last 10 days during the retreat was about observing the breath naturally as it is. Don't control your breath. It might be a shallow one, it might be a deep one. And then I found that with my natural breath, I wanted to follow the letters, and what happened, it was a yud. Hey, vav, hey. Yud. Hey, vav, hey. And then I couldn't breathe properly anymore, so I actually had to drop the letters and just know the letters are there, but what will relax me more is focusing on the breath, because that's what was happening.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I like it. It's given me a new way of seeing the word. Yeah.
Did it feel too long, or it's not long, or it didn't feel too long? It's an unusual
I have to be honest, I find this sort of thing very difficult.
because.
I find it easy to focus when I'm engaged.
Okay.
So, like with an activity
When
or,
he's engaged.
or
Yeah.
yes, a problem to solve. But to to put everything aside and just focus on one sort of very relaxed thing, I find very difficult. My mind just wants to Just looking for something to get engaged with.
Yeah. That's the purpose of it, though, is to sort of get those, because before prayer, we talked about this the last time a bit, before prayer, it's when you open your prayer book and you have all that in your head, sometimes it is hard to focus on the prayer because you've got all those things going around. So just sit in silence and notice your breath for a few minutes before you enter into prayer. Sometimes makes the prayer better able to pray.
Yeah, 100%.
Because the rabbis said that they used to do that. They would pray, that they were able to pray before they.
Isn't there a story in the Mishnah somewhere about they used to spend an hour getting ready, and then afterwards an hour?
Yeah. So 3 hours.
So that's 3 hours for shachar.
Yeah.
Daniel, what I've been told is that meditation is a skill that you need to learn.
Oh,
Yes.
And that it's very natural that in the beginning that's what happens.
Yes.
And the more you do it, and just keep bringing your thoughts back to the meditation, the easier it becomes until you can actually do it, and then you will reap the benefits. That's what I've been told.
Fair enough.
I have never been able to achieve it.
Yes, but there is no achieving it.
Well, no, it's like my
but even
yeah.
what Daniel was experiencing, just watching just thinking, what am I thinking about? I mean, that's where I'm at the moment when I'm doing this. I mean, I've been doing it for a while, and I'm still like, why am I making all these lists about what I have to do tomorrow? So it's that. Yeah. So it's that. It's like tshuva. It's like that moment of tshuva. It's like coming back. It's that moment of turning that is like the holy, if you want to say the holy moment, because you're thinking, and then you're like, okay, I'm supposed to be concentrating on my breath, and just that moment of awareness is what we're.
Can I say that, so for those who don't know, I just came back from a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat that I did with Bridget, who's also Jewish. This is not to go into it now, but what happened for me was those first 3 days about fighting with your mind. It's like a wild monkey that you want to bring back to awareness. And every time I caught myself and brought it back, I imagined an imaginary stamp like a school kid. Well done! And I had a little party. And then I went back to it. And every time it was like I could do it faster and faster.
Yeah.
Well done!
Yeah.
You know, and that way you see your limits.
So it's a practice, and then you are able. It's like what the rabbis say. They say to the rabbi, "What do you do before you pray?" It's like, "Pray that I can pray." And his praying that he can pray is this quieting the mind. I mean, some of the teachers we talked about last time say that it's like a, those snow things. You shake it, and there's all our thoughts, and then they settle down, and then you can see. Then you can see clearly. And or they also say like a muddy cup. It's all muddy, you can't see through it, and you just let it settle, and then you can see. But it's a practice, and it's hard. But it's also interesting. Besides noticing the moment of turning, is to notice what are the thoughts that are pulling you away. What is it that's always? And after a while, you'll notice I'm always making lists. I'm always thinking about tomorrow. It's interesting to notice what your thoughts are. Just to notice your thoughts.
My thoughts seem to be mostly sort of defense mechanisms. Why am I doing this? What am I wasting my time for? They're sort of negative, critical, and analytical kind of thoughts. Which,
that's interesting in itself, isn't it? Yeah.
And feeling self-conscious. We all look like idiots here. What
We're in the window. Go sit over there.
That's what I was going to say, is that at first I was really aware of the fact that we're sitting in this fishbowl and everyone's walking by, but then after a while I was like, oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's also in the
eyes.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
right.
And you get like
They can go away. If I don't think, then they're not there. Yeah. Right, well, now I'm going to challenge you with 2 minutes.
Okay. Give it a go.
Naughty.
Yeah, I thought so. So I am going to try and find how to do my, that's an hour, I don't want an hour. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Oh, the other thing that happens is you fall asleep.
Yes, you can fall asleep, you can fidget, there's lots of things that you would have learned about, there's lots of ways, defense mechanisms. It's like, I hate this, or, fidgeting, or falling asleep, but you're not going to fall asleep for 2 minutes probably, but you might. And welcome. It's just interesting to observe what's going on. That you're irritated, or you do have trouble thinking of your breath, but you don't like the Yud-Hey, you just want to just do just notice, or... Okay, so let's pay attention to our breath as best we can. Notice your thoughts, what's taking you away, and notice the moment when you think, oh right, I'm way over here, I just want to come back. Okay. So let's begin. 2 minutes. Because I have my phone on silent, it didn't tell me when it was finished. So I don't know how long we went. So. Hopeless. What happened?
I can't do it.
What do you mean? What do we just...
I think about everything, about what I'm supposed to be doing it. And then what somebody said about fishbowl. No, I'm supposed to be...
Yeah.
And then, oh, it's difficult. No. Okay. Well,
so you were noticing your thoughts. That's what...
I was noticing them after I've thought them, so that's...
Another part of this is to notice it, and then because we're trying to return to our breath, we're not sort of clinging on to them. So it's not like, oh, we're in a fishbowl. Oh, I wonder who's going past. Oh, yeah. Not to kind of cling and make stories about it and go off. You kind of thought, oh, there, I'm thinking about the fishbowl. Come back. So that was a great meditative practice. Really care. Yeah, good. Yeah.
I hope nobody else.
So I find it a valuable practice before I do anything, before a meeting, before I start to study, before I make a phone call, before I do a lot of things that I do, to take a moment and just do that meditation for a minute or 30 seconds. Just to, before you engage in the world with what you have to do, to take a little time. To just be there. So that is one of the, yeah.
Just say any little piece of advice from experience that it takes a long time for your body even to still, which is why when I turn off the lights, like I found my eyes were moving a lot. I had trouble just even relaxing my eyelids, and it took hours when we were meditating, 10 hours a day for 3 days before you could monitor your thoughts and then come back. You're still having thoughts, but you get much better. So if you stop after 5 minutes thinking I'm a failure, nobody would meditate. It takes a while. If you give yourself a space, give yourself an hour, at the end of the hour you will see the difference.
Even an hour's long, I can't meditate for an hour. So I've been doing 30 minutes a day, but every day. The thing is a daily practice, a daily practice. It's the daily practice that helps. I mean, we think. I mean, our minds think. We can't stop thinking. We're always going to be thinking. But it's just that that's always there. It just kind of slows it down. Just slows it down. Of course,
And then
you
what?
can't. And you can see clearly. You can
See
see more
what?
clearly what
But-
you're doing.
But that's thinking again about something.
But you become focused. I think it's,
But I think
Okay,
even
so-
if you feel that you are giving yourself a moment, whether it's a minute or two or whatever, to just be, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
not
yeah.
struggle.
Yeah.
To give a break to your nervous
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Okay.
I've been practicing for years, actually, not knowing it, because that's when I was a kid. I used to wake up at night because of nightmares of that, and I would call my father, Dad, 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 until he wakes up, and I go to his bed, and then I was, and Daddy and Mom is dead. Like, yeah, so I won't do any nightmares anymore. And you're kind of excited, which means you can't fall asleep, and that was highly annoying for my father, which would just, push me and stick me to against his chest, and I would basically, he would say, sleep now, and I would have nothing else but to focus on his breath, and the size of his lungs were 3 times the size of mine, and I was trying to breathe at the same time as him, and I could not handle this, the time you're not breathing actually, so I was trying, and I could not, and then I learned daily meditation, because every night I was doing it, and I learned to do that, and so I was not focusing on my breathing from my nose, but I was focusing, I learned, on my heartbeats, actually, and it helped a lot to just fall asleep later on when I was in law school or anything else. So yeah,
That's
it was
great.
just focusing on my heartbeats. When you breathe in, you're full of your lungs are full of air, and you just listen to how many heartbeats, 1, 2, or 3. Between how many heartbeats, I was counting my heartbeats between each breath, and it relaxed me. So, thanks, Dad.
That's a great story. Thank you. Yes, it's an awareness practice. The more we're aware, the more we will be fully alive. Because we're going to go through life kind of dead, not knowing that you're acting like this because you're in this kind of mood, or something hurts that you don't really even feel because you're too busy. But when you sit quietly, you can think, oh, I have a little pain there, and that's awareness is only good. It's only good. It makes us more alive, because we do, and we're learning this as we enter into getting ready for the high holidays, and trying to become more aware and do our cheshbon nefesh, and it's really a hi, welcome. Yeah, it was easy.
I know it has a certain effect on people, but I think that the world
changes, so I'll give it, so
extra me.
And it really helped me to put the up and down, and the human being empty and control. And then as he felt like a breath out of that space, and them as quite strong and full and separated. And they just went, and it just really helped to have them like a flowing visual for me. You know, I really, I really think my technique is
That's gorgeous.
it helped my
That's beautiful. Yeah.
No, but thank you.
That's really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Awareness is just good. And the way you get there, just many ways to get there. Meditation is a way to get there, to be just more fully awake. Because we're just... That's why I love, we have at Temple Sinai, we don't say thank you for bringing back the dead, we say thank you for bringing life to all. So, but on a team, I always feel like I'm dead a lot, and then when I do my prayer, or when I am in shul, or when I'm doing meditation, I become back alive again. Thank you. So. Another way of meditating, though, there's many ways, and this is be more comfortable for Daniel and Ayala, is through Hasidic stories, because they are meditations as well. There's much depth to them, and you can just kind of read them on many different levels. So because we're concentrating today on practice and silence, I've chosen a few stories, and we can talk about them if you like. I like telling the stories, but I also like to read them because I feel like sometimes they're also good to read. This one's called Idle Speech. A man once came across also because I'm sure I chose this one. A man once came across a teaching that said, if you refrain from idle conversation for 40 days, you will receive divine inspiration. Thinking this to be a shortcut to God, he set his mind to the task with great diligence. 40 days passed, and not once did an idle word cross his lips. And yet, at the end of his struggle, no inspiration was granted him. Seeking an explanation, he traveled to see the Baal Shem Tov. After listening to the man's story, the Baal Shem Tov asked, "Did you pray during those 40 days?" "What a question," the man exclaimed. "Of course I prayed. 3 times a day I prayed, just as we are commanded by God." "I see," said the Baal Shem Tov. "And did you recite any Tehillim?" "Again, such a question. I am a Jew, and therefore I read Psalms every day." And to emphasize his point, the man rattled off the first verses of his favorite psalm. "Master," he continued after the recitation, "can it be that the teaching is wrong? Can it be that after 40 days of prayer and psalms and abstaining from idle conversation, one does not receive divine inspiration?" "No," said the Baal Shem Tov, "the teaching is true. It was your practice that was faulty. I can tell from your recitation of the psalm that while you took care to uplift your conversations, you babbled your prayers. They became your idle speech. You purified your conversation with people and defiled your conversation with God. Your prayers themselves kept you from receiving inspiration from God."
So you should not pray at all during 40 days.
Is that what you wanted to say?
No.
That's very interesting because that is a bit, sorry, it's a bit how I personally feel. I don't really connect to praying from the book and reading and repeating and which page and back and forth. And I try and I just can't do that. I prefer my space with God. And just the atmosphere of being wherever I am, maybe in shul or not. So I get that falling into a repetition that's unconscious and yeah, interesting.
I mean, an unconscious repetition can also be like a mantra.
That's right, yeah.
Which is very helpful.
Yeah.
So your heart's still there, I guess.
Well, I suppose then the argument, or not argument, but the thought of whether it's enough to pronounce the words to make them a prayer, whether you're actually thinking about each word or not. There's energy in everything, yeah?
Yeah. So there's some commentary here, which I'll share with you. And the last one is I find very difficult, but we'll see what you say. "You are what you say. The quality of your speech reflects the quality of your soul. Idle speech is thoughtless chatter, suggesting a scattered mind. If you wish to improve the latter, improve the former. But this effort must include all the words you use, whether written, signed, spoken, or sung. A word has the power to heal or to harm. The problem with the fellow in our story is that he made a distinction between prayer and speech. It is all words, and no word should be spoken without full attention. And here's this very strange thing, which I find very strange, but I'll just say it anyway. The Baal Shem Tov taught that a person is born with a fixed number of words to speak. When they are spoken, the person dies. Imagine this is true for you. Every word you speak brings you closer to death. The next time you are about to utter a word, ask yourself whether this word is worth dying for.
That is great.
That is great.
I'm going to write something about it.
Well, by that token, every breath you take
Absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely.
All I can say is a response that apparently, and I'm not responsible for this evaluation, but apparently in meetings of various sorts I talk too much. I don't know, that's the sort of feedback I get sometimes. I don't think it's true, because if I thought it was true then I wouldn't speak so much. But apparently that's what other people sometimes think, and I'm sure none of you here think that. But I've been told that maybe I should allow myself so many comments per meeting. And then, I mean, I can decide on how many comments I can have, and then I can think about, okay, you know, if I make this coming comment that I want to make, is it worth making it as part of my quota for this meeting?
Yes.
Who is the ghost to tell you that?
The question is whether you have,
Hang on, wait. Oh, sorry, yeah? Yeah?
Am I scary?
No, well. But
Yeah, it's all
anybody
right.
would find that hard to hear, wouldn't they?
I don't know. People just tell me things.
What were you going to say?
But it's okay.
the question is whether don't you have an obligation to inform the rest of us about the pathways of your thought?
Do I?
What?
If you
Well,
have
what-
a thought,
What
if
do
you
you
If you
mean?
have a
have
comment, maybe other people have the same comment, and instead of letting one wondering by himself, just speak, because you may be speaking on behalf of the person who will stay silent.
Is that what
I
you were
agree
saying?
with that, but I don't think that this is what you said. At
He's
least
not
that's-
far off the mark.
No, but
Oh.
you were
He
talking
doesn't
about the
agree.
process of my thinking, and
No, I
he's
was
talking
not-
about the product of
No,
my
no.
thinking.
I was
Okay, well,
not talking about the
let's-
process of your thinking.
Okay.
I happen to accept the process of your thinking in the sense that I don't always agree with it, but I appreciate it.
And you
Thank
wouldn't want
you.
her to be
Therefore-
quiet.
I'm sorry?
You would not want her to be quiet. Is
Well,
that what you're saying?
almost all the time that is correct.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I'll take
Yeah.
it as a personal compliment
Yeah.
and of great
Depth and profundity.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that as well. But and I do believe that most of the time I do have something to say, and I do believe that sometimes I speak out the things that, as you said, some people who are shy
Like
don't.
at Margolis's talk, I'm actually glad you pointed out your struggle to be there because of her anti-Israel
Everyone.
sentiments. I was like, wow, yes, I feel that way too.
Yet some people, for example, about that comment, and if people weren't in the
Well.
Miriam Margolis talk, Miriam Margolis is well known, sorry, JoEllen.
Let's
is
not go overboard with your comments, though.
No, I'll Miriam Margolis is a well-known anti-Israeli anti-Zionist, activist. And she doesn't hide that. Okay? And it was difficult for me to come and hear somebody, we were supposed to hear about her thoughts and her, and herself. It was difficult for me to come to her talk. And I shared that when I was sitting in front of her in the audience. I shared that, and some people looked at me as if I've said something that is very
It was
rude.
the elephant in the room.
Well, I was considered by many Kiwis rude. How can I say such a thing? So thank you for saying that.
Well, she
So-
particularly has no trouble saying.
No, she didn't. She didn't think it was
Yeah,
rude.
and I mean, she frees herself to be.
Yeah, yeah.
To be honest, while you were speaking, I had a knot in my stomach thinking, uh-oh, how far is she going to go? But when you stopped, I'm like, well done.
Yeah. So part of this practice, in responding to Ayelet, people say, would be to take the moment before you speak and to just sit with it for a little while.
Sure.
And then, so that's just another way of practicing this in your particular situation that you're bringing up, to say, instead of just
Blurting.
to say,
Of course.
just sit with it and think and wonder, and maybe somebody else will say it, or
course.
maybe that's the practice for you in that situation, if you want to take it.
No, I
You
was
want
just
to-
giving an
Yes.
example
Yeah.
when you were comparing, when you were talking about Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah.
And I will take the Baal Shem Tov's word about everybody has so many words. But I don't accept the comment that was made about what the Baal Shem Tov just said. That every word that you're saying, think about, is it worth it saying?
Yeah.
Because you actually don't know how many words you have. So
But if
the
you-
point
if you
is,
sit and-
yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, like, if you sit and be conscious of what you're about to say before you say it, you might start to see the potential on-flowing effect.
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Yes, and that's the point.
Sure,
the
but-
parallel is like, when God created the world, He spoke.
Yeah.
And God had the power to create and destroy with word.
Yeah.
And in God's image, we have a similar way to create and destroy by speaking. And the Chafetz Chaim talks about it, and the on-flow effect of by what you say could end up hurting someone, could end up killing someone. You just don't know.
Sure. Sure.
So just to be,
Sure. You always have to think before you speak.
yeah.
Definitely.
But unlike God, I don't know what the effect of my words will be on someone.
True. 100%.
So
So that's why
if-
you have to be extra careful.
So if I say something without any malevolence, or whatever way you pronounce it, I hope is that
Yeah, malevolence is how I would say it. but-
Like Stefan?
No,
then,
I'm okay.
then that's where my responsibility ends.
Actually, technically, according to the rules, and I'm not a specialist, of Lashon Hara, so that
Yeah.
Well, that's different.
bad speaking. Yeah, even when you say a positive comment, you may cause
Yes.
someone to make a negative comment, therefore it is Lashon Hara
Yeah.
as well.
Yes, that means that you can't actually say anything.
That's why
You have to be
And
careful.
not saying anything is also Lashon Hara.
It's just, yes, sometimes not saying anything.
That's
is
right.
Lashon Hara.
So-
That's why
It's
you
extremely
should
complex.
Yes.
be
It's
There's
careful
whole
very
volumes written on
which
this stuff.
conversation you engage, just at all, and what you
But
hear.
you still never know.
I think
You never know, but that's
Okay,
then
let's
you have
let's
to be extra careful.
Lashon Hara was like a whole. I think we could do a whole session. If you ever do this again, we'll have a Lashon Hara because it's very deep and very interesting.
Good.
It's close.
And I love talking about Lashon Hara because there's so much, and it's connected to this
Yes.
being careful as
Yeah.
to what you say.
Yeah.
So another technique that I want to talk about before the break is meditation through Torah study. One of my favorites, and also that's for Daniel. It's another way of being engaged, not being silent, but also becoming aware.
I need the fun action.
Yeah, that's right.
And the rocking.
Yeah, the rock.
The rocking.
All that stuff.
The rocking is a
So because of
I agree, actually.
We have a double portion this week on Tot Masai, which is very difficult. I tried to find a part that was, well, originally when I started to look, I thought I would find a beautiful part, but I found that really hard. It's all about making sure you kill all the women and making sure, it was really difficult, and I know that there's other ways of interpreting all that, but I didn't want to do that for our meditation study. So I've chosen a sort of a neutral-ish, as neutral as I could find, which of course is nothing neutral. So this is called Entering the Pardes, God's revelation to you through Torah. And this is a way to study Torah which is a meditative way. And we did it last time, and I invite you to study with me this time. So what I'll do is I'm going to read one section 4 times. And each time I'm going to ask you to listen on a different level. And it is kind of a...
Like last time.
Like last time, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
What do you mean on a different level?
On a different level, it's the technique is called Pardes.
Oh, like sharp.
So first level, Pardes, just the literal level. Listen to what it is. Next level is the Remez, where there's allusions, listening for that. And then Darash, an inquiry. And then Sod, the mysterious. And I'll explain each time before I read. Okay? So there's a little blessing here. It's not our usual blessing. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah u'devar Hashem meYerushalayim aruch shenatan Torah la'amo Yisrael bekedutsho. Out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the divine word from Jerusalem. Blessed be the one who in sanctity gave the people Israel Torah. So I'm going to read from Numbers chapter 35, verses 9 to 15. And I ask you to listen on the literal level, on the Peshat level. This is the simple meaning of God's word. Notice if there's a word or a phrase that attracts you. Just notice, like we were doing with our breathing, just noticing if there's any word or phrase that just sticks while I'm reading. I'm reading from the Richard Friedman translation, which I like. And Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, when you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall establish cities. They shall be cities of refuge for you. And a manslayer who strikes the life by mistake shall flee there. And you shall have the cities for refuge from an avenger, so the manslayer will not die until he stands in front of the congregation for judgment. And the cities that you shall give, you shall have 6 cities of refuge. You shall put 3 of the cities across the Jordan, and you shall put 3 of the cities in the land of Canaan. They shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be for refuge for the children of Israel, and for the alien, and for the visitor among them, for anyone who strikes the life by mistake to flee there."
JoEllen, can I make a request?
Please.
Can I read it in Hebrew?
I might ask you to read it the 4th time in Hebrew, so that
Okay.
that will be the
It's just
mysterious
very
level
difficult for me
to hear it. Are you
to
ready?
think about Torah. If I may just read it for myself.
Oh, yes, you may. You can see it.
I will find it.
It's only a few verses.
I will
It's just
find
down
it.
there.
Sorry.
Can you see? Does anyone want to comment on that? You don't have to. We can wait till the next one.
Well, there's a question that jumps out at me. Why
Yeah.
is the word refuge used multiple times, so many times, like
Mhm.
over the top?
So that stuck with you, refuge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it?
I wonder if it's 7 times. Just a thought.
Why categorize the person who will receive refuge?
As a
Differentiate, I'm sorry?
manslayer. Sorry?
Differentiate by nationality. If one is to receive refuge, one receives refuge,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what one
Oh,
is.
yes. Yeah. An alien or a visitor or anything, yeah.
The other question, I mean, I know the answer, but in the context alone, it doesn't answer it. Is why does he need to seek refuge, he or she?
So what is it?
Why does the person need to seek
That's
refuge?
after.
Oh, because
That
Yeah, but
comes
we, but
after.
that's
Yeah.
not for this. That's
No,
for the
no,
next. That's
I-
another. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Now you're just listening as you've never heard this before. You don't know anything about the portion. You've never studied it before. You're just listening to the words for the first time. So we don't know anything. Okay.
I find it really helpful to actually hear the four versions
Okay.
without
Without stopping.
with minimal pause, so that we can
Okay.
do what you've asked us to do.
Okay. Well, no, it's okay. But I am curious to hear if something comes up each time.
I got stuck on the Yarden.
What?
I got stuck on the word Yarden, the
Okay.
Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And actually, I got stuck on it and I wasn't listening for the rest.
Okay.
That
That's
was
good.
another
No, that's
reason.
fine. No, that's good.
That was another reason that I actually needed to.
No, but I
read
want
it.
to know that.
That's what I'm telling you.
So, but
Yeah.
then don't feel like you have to hear the rest. The instruction was notice if you get stuck on something, and then you can stay
Yeah.
with it. Okay. All right, I'm going to read it again, exactly the same part in English. And I want you to now to listen at the remez level, which is reflecting on the illusions of God's word. So notice where you are within this tale. Where are you? Where are you in this tale? And Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, When you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall establish cities. They shall be cities of refuge for you, and a manslayer who strikes a life by mistake shall flee there. And you shall have the cities of refuge from an avenger, so the manslayer will not die until he stands in front of the congregation for judgment. And the cities that you shall give, you shall have 6 cities of refuge. You shall put 3 of the cities across the Jordan, and you shall put 3 of the cities in the land of Canaan. They shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be for refuge for the children of Israel, and for the alien, and for the visitor among them, for anyone who strikes a life by mistake to flee there. So that's where are you? Where are you in the tale? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I found myself like flying above this landscape of cities, colonials, and places of refuge. Just seeing it happen from above.
Do you ever imagine needing to go there? Like just in case, I know where to go.
Just in case I kill somebody, please.
But that comes into the word refuge holds that, yeah.
Children's game, you've got a safe
What's that called?
place.
Did you see yourself in there? Did you feel or see something you want to?
No.
No? Okay.
I felt the running
No.
away. I felt
Okay.
that once we get there, that the same place if we make a mistake,
Yeah.
a bad mistake, that's where you need to get to before they kill you.
So that you can be judged, yeah.
Can I just ask a point of clarification? I've
Yeah.
always understood remez to mean the hint, like
A hint,
a hint
yeah.
towards some
An
deeper idea.
illusion, a hint, allusion.
So what do you feel is the
Yeah.
illusion?
Or your hint, was there a hint, any kind of hint?
So,
of
so
what's-
sorry. So then, what's the difference between remez and drush? What's the drush? Isn't that drush? I understood drush to be the illusion. And I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Okay, we'll get to the drush next.
Okay.
Okay. It is a hint, an illusion, a hint, it's kind of the same. It does mean hint, but it's,
Yeah. What's it trying to hint to?
yeah. Okay, yeah, that's, I have to look back.
Sorry. Well, I was just trying to count how many times.
Oh,
It's
okay.
5.
It is fine. Okay, it doesn't mean anything.
But there's more before and after, okay? There's more before and after. I'm just taking a,
Words to information,
yeah.
How to analyze it.
to understand.
I'm going to read it again, and now I'd like you to listen on the drash level. This is called an inquiry in response to God's word.
Is that how you say it?
Pardon?
Inquiry,
An inquiry into yeah.
not inquiry.
Depends where you're from. Really.
Inquiry, inquiry.
She's from the South Island.
Yeah, I'm from the South Island. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm forever.
How are you being called to respond?
Sorry, I'm just.
How is God calling you to respond to this passage? That's what we're looking at on this level, the Drush level. What is your response? And what is your response? Let's listen again. So how are you being called to respond? And Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, when you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall establish cities. They shall be cities of refuge for you, and a manslayer who strikes a life by mistake shall flee there. And you shall have the cities for refuge from an avenger, so the manslayer will not die until he stands in front of the congregation for judgment. And the cities that you shall give, you shall have 6 cities of refuge. You shall put 3 of the cities across the Jordan, and you shall put 3 of the cities in the land of Canaan. They shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be for refuge for the children of Israel, and for the alien, and for the visitor among them, for anyone who strikes a life by mistake to flee there."
The first thing I get out of that at that level is like I feel like I'm obligated to establish a court system, a legal system.
Okay.
I see it as a legal, call to set up a legal system, essentially.
My thoughts are that Moses is speaking to the children of Israel, so to all of us, because it still resonates and it's still valid today. So technically, anyone can possibly become a manslaughter, right? So I'm thinking, knowing that we are not barbarians, we are not barbarians, we are civilized. Does it include, for example, Lashon Hara, when we say that where we kill the person 3 times, when we say that? So where does it stop? What is manslaughter? What is it?
I didn't say manslaughter, strike.
Yeah, strike a human life. So it's.
Well, yeah, but they say that Lashon Hara does that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the strike doesn't mean
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right,
So
right.
Yeah, which is and when I was listening, it was more like there's a place for everyone, even people who make mistakes.
No.
And it's interesting because it's only this time I got that it's before they're judged. Because I'm familiar with this passage, I was like, yeah. And then I'm like, oh, before they're judged. And then I realized it's because they need to run away in case the family of the victim wants to take revenge before they appear in the court.
Yeah.
And that's why they need to be in the same place. It's like witness protection. Or in
No,
this case,
it's
and
not
in this case,
witness.
it's the protection of the perpetrator.
Why?
So you can get a trial. We're presumed innocent until proven guilty. But here, they know they're guilty, but they are afraid of
No, he's afraid
retribution.
they may think he's guilty.
So this is a really good example that Michelle has brought up of looking at it freshly, because we've read it before, we read commentary around it, we know the stories before and after, a lot of us, not all of us, and then we bring it to it and we have it colored with all the other parts that we knew before, that we studied last year, that we remember from last year, that were from other bits of the story, and to just sort of sit quietly and then engage in it as if you've never seen it before gives you whole new. Did you want to say something, Ayala, before I read again? And Ayala, you
No,
want to say
I'm
it?
sorry. It's irrelevant.
You were
When you, I read it several times before,
I know.
but and this time I said, okay, I know this, and then
Yeah.
but it was one word. It was the one strikes the light by mistake, and I always thought someone committing murder if we take the literal sense, but this time, even from the first time, actually I thought by myself, and I thought I have a life and there's no manual for life. So I could take decisions and I could do certain things instead of others. And sometimes I wonder, have I taken the right decision? Am I wasting like the time I have? I have finite amount of time, so am I wasting the time? Should I do something else? So, and I thought that it's not just for murder, it's more the symbolic. But it's also what we do with what I'm doing in my life. So am I wasting, am I doing something which is worth?
Life affirming? Or
Life affirming or not? And
towards life or towards death? Which
yeah,
way?
and then
Wow,
society
that's
will
very
sort
nice.
of,
Very nice.
and then in those cities refuge, society is in a sense judging us all the time. And it's a community. We are not alone, our life is with everybody else. But the passage gave me a lot of hope in a sense. That even if I make mistakes and I should have done something, and I know that I should have done something instead of something else, this like a safe harbor where to go and change direction.
Very nice. Time out. That's beautiful, yeah.
Time out. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Before you get judged.
Before you get judged. Yeah.
Before
By
you
yourself.
get-
Yeah. But or by your makeup, you know.
Yeah.
But
Or
yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Very interesting.
There's an absolute contrary reasoning in here. If for whatever the circumstances are, I find myself in a position where I am angry and where I am provoked, I already know that I have a place of refuge.
So it encourages you maybe to do
To
a
do something evil.
But then you're doing it on purpose, and that's not it's only
You
accidental.
will be judged. Don't forget, you
Yeah.
will be judged.
Yeah.
But by the community, but you never get to that point. How are you released from the city? Who comes to collect you from the city of refuge?
Oh,
This is
it's
interesting.
not in this
Yeah.
paragraph.
Yeah, but I know, but I'm wanting to know what people are feeling by hearing
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Okay, I don't want to.
Yeah,
We know
sure.
what went before, after, so that's really interesting that
Now,
you felt that. That there's this.
the point of the matter is, it could be completely innocent in the sense that my inner feelings are such that this is what caused me to do it, but that doesn't necessarily mean I had criminal intent to do it.
Sure.
So I could then very well qualify to use a city of refuge.
But the fact that you knew there were cities of refuge changed your behavior. Is that what you're, perhaps?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Whereas reading this, I go from social history completely. You know, Luca's idea was never enter my mind at all. But what I was thinking about the fact that this is a set of regulations, laws, processes
Yeah.
that are put in place for the Jewish people in contrast to the current, of that stage, current local justice system in which a person can take the law into their own hand and do a blood what do you call it? Blood revenge? Blood revenge? Is that the term? I think there
That's
is
not the
another
term, but
French,
it's,
if you're looking for French expression, English.
we can't think of it in
It's when if somebody has done something
Yeah.
to your family,
Yeah,
then
blood
you go and
feud,
do
blood
something to
feud,
their
blood feud,
Blood feud.
blood feud.
Blood
That's
feud,
it.
blood price.
Yeah.
So the whole purpose of that is to actually
Prevent
stop
it.
blood feuds, which were current
Yeah.
at that stage.
Yeah. What I'm asking you to do is really just engage
Yeah.
with this, not
Yeah.
history.
No, I
okay?
know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying is
Yeah,
my
okay,
thoughts
okay.
go like that, in that direction.
Yeah,
I'm like Lucas.
yeah.
So mine's very different, so I'm a very literal person. So I'm wondering, there's 6 places, why are there
Yeah.
6, and why are they across the Jordan, and it's going to get flooded,
Yeah.
and it's,
What?
That's interesting, yeah. Because
Why
I
those
thought the
locations?
6 as well.
There's 6 is bizarre, and
Yeah.
there's like, why that many, and why are they located in the locations they have, and there will be asymmetry if they were across the Jordan, literally, unless you put one in the middle of the job. So this is what I don't know.
Because there were tribes who lived over the Jordan.
We're not
No,
thinking,
but
I'm just
I'm
interested in what
saying
she
that
saw.
it's-
Yeah.
that's just what
good,
I'm
yeah.
thinking
No,
visually.
no. The 6 was also something that came up for me. It's like, oh, that's unusual. So yeah. So we're not analyzing each other's things. We're just okay. So this is the last time to listen. We're not going to discuss this one. This is your secret one. This is resting in the mystery of God's word. I actually did a different ways last time. This is a new thing I found, which I thought would be fun to do. So this is resting in the mystery of God's word. And so I'm going to read it the 4th time. We're not going to discuss it. This is the mysterious one. Reflect on how this passage might reveal secrets of meaning concerning your life or the life of our world. We won't discuss. And Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, and you shall say to them, when you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall establish cities. They shall be cities of refuge for you, and a manslayer who strikes a life by mistake shall flee there. And you shall have the cities for refuge from an avenger, so the manslayer will not die until he stands in front of the congregation for judgment. And the cities that you shall give, you shall have 6 cities of refuge. You shall put 3 of the cities across the Jordan, and you shall put 3 of the cities in the land of Canaan. They shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be for refuge for the children of Israel, and for the alien, and for the visitor among them, for anyone who strikes a life by mistake to flee there." So you rest in the mystery of that. And we'll take a break.
Yeah, sounds good.
What was the last word you read of that?
Anayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad.
I thought I'd take you through a book list because I want to do this other thing that might just take us through to 9 o'clock, and I want to talk
So
about.
that's homework.
It's not homework. I think everybody wants to.
2 book reports a night.
Okay, I think there's I'll make some more. So a couple of people did ask about were there any books on Jewish meditation. So these are my favorites. They're all, you can get them all on Amazon or Kindle, and I have them at my house if you can't find them and you want to borrow. I'll take you through a few of them. Yitzhak Buxbaum, Jewish Spiritual Practice. That's a really thick book. And I'll just have a look at this one. I didn't think everybody would want a book list, so I make them copies. And that tells you every little thing, like what foot to put out first when you wake up in the morning, what to say. So it's like really, really extreme, but just fantastic. I love it. It's really fun. Rabbi David Cooper, The Handbook of Jewish Meditation Practices. I use that all the time. It's got some nice guided meditations and some nice explanations. He also wrote God as a Verb, which is a good book. These are all, I recommend all of these books, but especially Rabbi Arthur Green, Radical Judaism. That's like Judaism for today. He is a great rabbi, and he's just really rethinking Judaism today in a radical way, and it's absolutely very important for everybody to read that. The classic book on Jewish meditation is called Jewish Meditation by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. And then Rabbi Alan Liu, who recently died. He was a Buddhist monk and a rabbi. And This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared is just the most beautiful book to read for preparing yourself for the high holidays. It's just excellent. Excellent. This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. Great title, Rabbi Alan Liu.
Was he a monk first?
Well, he's Jewish, and he studied Judaism, and I think he became rabbi, then he became monk, and he became rabbi. I'm not sure which order. Yeah.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I have a question. I don't know if you talked about it, but you mentioned about which food to put.
Yeah.
Did you talk about this already?
Yes, yes.
Well, no, I was thinking, I thought if you're sort of sleeping on the right hand side, and you turn right to stand up, then you touch with your right foot.
I think you do that like this.
Okay.
Isn't it from...
Or maybe it's what's up. I'm not sure. It's probably what's up you want first. Read the book, you'll find out. On the other page...
I only put my shoes on now.
Yeah. There's Rabbi Jeff Roth, Jewish Meditation Practices for Everyday Life. All those books by Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi are fantastic. And at the bottom, Rabbi Sheila Weinberg, surprisingly happy, she's coming to Limud in Auckland. So, and she's one of my teachers on this course I'm doing, and she's a very amazing teacher and writer. And so if you're going to Limud, make sure you go to Limud and see her. And we might be bringing her down to Wellington, in which case we can all meet her in person. So, yeah. Okay, so that's. I just wanted to make sure that people had to leave. Could do that. Yeah.
If I see you have the book from Rabbi Nachman of Breslau.
Yeah.
I have actually a French book that translation, obviously, of few tales from the writing.
Yes.
Obviously, Kabbalist tales as well. I wonder if you have comments, actually, because I read them like that, and it's really hard to understand them.
That's why I am, I should have, this particular book has commentary. I mean, you need to have commentary.
That's right, mystical.
You need to have commentary with them.
You have to be
Absolutely. I mean, here's this one too. This is annotated and explained. So, it's like the Torah. It's like I was saying before, that, the Kabbalah, the Hasidic tales are meditations. They're guided meditations, and they're taking you to places. And you have to kind of know where you're going. Going through the woods,
Exactly,
the
wood,
king,
you
the
have a
prince.
river, the river is the symbol for the Torah and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you don't have this code to understand
I
it,
thought it was a river Styx.
Yes.
But you can also, just like the Pardes, you
Yes,
read these
that's
stories
right,
in the
that's right.
same way. You read, yeah.
That's right.
Because I remember reading the stories of Rabbi Nachman of Breslau when I was a kid.
This is not what I was looking
you read
There
the
was-
one on the clown. And the clown
No,
says-
but there was the one that stuck with my mind when I was a kid was about a handkerchief,
Oh, yeah.
about a kerchief, and it was. I remember as a child going with it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I mean, when I did some study of the Hasidic tales, and we did it like that. We just listened to them, and we kind of put ourselves in them, and then it really. But just to read it by yourself, sometimes you need to have a study group and to have some commentary, and have somebody read it to you so that you can enter into it. So that's why they're meditation devices. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. I mean, I would love to do a study on the Hasidic tales. Okay, so there's also a custom of writing what's called Haganot, which is your own spiritual practices. So I'm going to get up every morning, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put my left foot on first, and I'm going to, these are your spiritual practices, your personal Haganot. And Haganot, is that how you say it? Haganot.
the protections.
Your protections.
That's what it translates as.
Okay.
Haganah is protection.
Spiritual
Amulet.
So your spiritual
Pardon?
protections,
Like an
your
amulet.
personal
Like
amulets,
a-
an amulet, your personal protections, your personal amulet. So
No, it is actually like the
Yes.
word protection.
yeah, I can,
Like the
I can-
Haganah,
I
I
can
remember
see
that.
Well, so the amulet has a symbolism that if you do it this well, everything will be okay.
Like a
Well, in
red
that
thread.
sense, yes, but
Yeah, so from the like
I don't have.
Yes. But these, Arthur Green has shared them and his personal ones, and I love them. So I thought we could read them and discuss them until we want to go home. Because they're to take us a little while. And I find if I have one of these in my I have one of these in my bag that I carry around with me because I really like them.
Laziness.
So it is not
Just as strict as well. It's not. I mean, it's not like Shabbos, but it's Doraita.
Okay, so these are. So these are. He calls it a simple, serious Judaism for today. This is out of one of his books. Ehiyeh, a Kabbalah for tomorrow.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's read them. He's written these for himself, but they're in his book, so I took them out of his book.
Sorry.
Yeah, what?
In the third line, in the introduction about Arthur Green.
Han Hagot.
There, that's what I'm saying. What, can you, because it's not very clear.
That says Han Hagot, Hanhagot.
Han Hagot. Is that the word that you were saying?
I was looking up.
Han Hagot is not the same as
Not the
Haganot.
same as Haganot.
No.
So maybe I had the Haganot thing
So
wrong.
which
Well, what does Han Hagot mean?
Han
for you?
Hagot is more to do with customs and things practices that you do.
Personal
Like
spiritual practices is how he has translated
Yes.
it. Okay, so
Yes.
personal
Minhag,
spiritual.
the same.
Yeah,
Shosh.
same Shosh from Minhag.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry that I did that wrong.
Right? It doesn't come from Minhag.
Minhag
They
comes
have
from
they have a joint root
Shosh.
of Nahag. Nahag is a driver.
Driver.
Yeah.
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 Minhag.
Okay, so the first one, number 1. Know that all life is holy. All exists within the one. There is no time or place in which God's presence cannot be found. Meditate on this each day. Think about it at home, while commuting, at work, and back at home. Remind you of Shema.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Any comments? This one I think is, number 2 is interesting. Take responsibility for your own spiritual life. It is we who lock God out of our lives. Therefore, open your heart, train your heart to fill up with God's presence and God's love. Be aware in each moment, no matter where you are or what you are doing, of the divine radiance within you and all about you. To me, the first line is the most important. Take responsibility for your own spiritual life.
I don't see. How can that not be so? I mean,
Well, 2 things came to my mind when I read that. One was you can't let somebody else.
You rely on your rabbi.
Yeah, relying on the rabbi for your spiritual life.
no.
Do that.
Right.
It's up to you to do your own practice, and also not to impose on other people. Just saying, this is what you should be doing.
I see what you mean. Okay, thank you.
It's just
That's what I think it means. I don't know.
There's kind of like a parallel to how one would take care of their own physical life, like in terms of your health. You have doctors there, but unless you engage them, eat healthy, exercise, you won't be healthy. It's the same as spirituality. There's rabbis there, great, but if you don't engage them or read books and be proactive and
It just
keep
never
being
occurred to
spiritual.
me that it can be any other way.
Well, you're obviously privileged to have this naturally.
But I think that JoEllen's point was also a good point about don't take responsibility for other people's spiritual life.
Yeah. Did that strike a chord with you?
It's an interesting remark.
Well, if they're your children,
Once they
You
get
can-
to a certain age.
Well, you can
that's
teach
it.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can teach.
and your students. But even then, you're just putting things in front of them.
well, I think in raising kids, you are somewhat obligated to be responsible for
Put
them.
things in front of them, but whether they, it's like bringing a horse to water, that's it.
Don't you say that you have your parents and your teacher, like your rabbi, your rav, right?
Okay.
They are in charge of your education. He's in charge of your spiritual life, like to teach you.
Well, your father was obligated to teach you.
You have your two fathers, like the same way you. I remember it's I think it's a comment from Rabbi Eliezer, who says that you have to stand up when the Rav, your Rav,
Yeah.
comes in the room,
Yeah.
and when your father comes in the room, because one created you, the human being that you are, and the other one created you, the Torah scholar that you are, basically. It's like, so that's something. So, anyway, just throwing it on the table.
I think that to me it's like this is the thing that's coming up for me a lot at the moment. Is like we have to do it ourselves. We can't have. We have to do our sitting. We have to do our. It's up to us. It's not someone else is not going to teach
No.
us.
Somebody
Someone
else is going to teach you, but nobody else is going to learn it for you.
Yes.
So that's what I tell my students, being a teacher, is that I can spoon feed you, but you actually have to swallow.
Okay.
Nobody can do the swallowing for you.
But the kids are at school because they have to be, but for spiritual practice, you need to ask. We had to ask in the meditation and
Why are we here?
please teach me your knowledge in meditation
You have to
practice.
open up.
If you can't spend your life saying, oh, I wish I was like that,
Yeah.
but I was never.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wish I was like that. You need to ask and take that step.
You need to
So
take
we have there's a
responsibility.
saying in our teachings that says don't say someday when I have enough time I'm going to study. Just do it because
Yeah.
you have to make the time to do these things. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if this is relevant, but I was thinking that in any kind of relationship, you should be self-sufficient, but you should also, if you're in the relationship, rely on the other person. So you take if it's a couple, for example, you take responsibility for each other, even though if you didn't have each other, you would still survive.
Yeah, but yes, you're absolutely right. But in a funny way, it's like having a stick and leaning on it, using it, but when it is snatched from under you, still not leaning on it. So, you just lean on it ever so slightly, so it feels that it's being leaned on, but you're not actually depending on it really.
I think the next line is interesting. It is we who lock God out of our lives. So that part to me is this next part of being responsible for our own spiritual life. 3. Now these are Arthur Green's, but I like them. Train yourself to see the miracle of each day's arrival and departure. Celebrate the 2 sacred times of day, dawn and dusk, with prayer. So that's one thing that you can do. That's just one thing that would change your whole life. It's just, to welcome the dawn and welcome the sunset, welcome the evening, and to be awake for it. If your life is too complicated or too fast-paced to remain aware, work to live more simply and more slowly. Keep Shabbat as a time to slow down, live in harmony with nature and reflect. Make room for Shabbat consciousness to enter your weekday world as well. Slow down.
Easier said than done, sorry. No,
It is hard. None of these are easy.
Well, no, it's... Number 4 is the sort of thing that an older man would say. I'm I'm sorry.
I think that we can make room for Shabbat consciousness in our weekday world. I think we can do
No,
that.
I'm talking about the first.
That's what he's talking about as well.
Living-
It's all one thing.
I think children do that. You know, whatever a child is doing, whether it feels full of energy or not, they are fully enjoying that. Completely feeling it.
Children are at the moment, yes.
Yes. So, and I think that's what.
But I don't think that's what he's talking about, being at the moment. Not
In
in,
number four.
not in
Yeah,
number
he is.
4. I don't think he's talking about being in the moment.
He's saying remain aware. Remaining aware is about being aware. You can be busy and be, that's what the whole meditation, everything is, just to be aware of what's going on in that moment. What's that?
It's to make room for Shabbat consciousness to enter your weekday
Yes.
world as
Yes.
well. So it's like you have to think about it. That's actually the whole week goes towards Shabbat.
And it's really hard. No, but also
So that's what I'm saying. I don't think that it is about being at the moment. Because if you're in the moment, then on Monday, you're in Monday. You're not on Shabbat.
That's what he's saying. He wants to try and bring.
Yeah, that's what yeah. It's not.
Well, for me personally, slowing down is about the moment. And it's really hard to do, but I catch, for example, you're sort of rushing, you take a shower, be quick to get ready to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it's quite amazing when you manage to slow down and actually feel the hot water you are getting now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know? You can think about the next thing after.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, but
That's what this is all
But
about.
this is not number 4.
Yes, it is.
I don't think. Well, I don't really.
It is. If you're rushing, but you're still having a shower, you can't be rushing having a shower. You're having it. You can still be in it, and noticing it, and noticing the hot water, and noticing that, and so you're in that moment. You're not like you're still but you're in.
Sure, but I don't think this is not what he says in number 4.
Okay.
Okay. You're right, and he's probably saying it somewhere, in some form, but not in number 4, in my opinion.
Okay. Number 5. Live the rhythm of the sacred calendar. Shabbat, holiday seasons, as rich with traditional forms or as simply as your spirit desires. Remember that it is you who has to fill those forms with God's presence. It is the joy of your spirit that brings them to life. So we were saying that before, just, Shabbat's just another day if you don't create it. Yom Kippur is just a day if you don't infuse it. So it's up to us to infuse each moment with holiness. And this is his own thing, which I've tried to take on myself. It's actually quite powerful. Study Torah every day. Choose those texts, methods of learning, classes, and study partners that make for challenging and exciting learning experiences. If learning Torah is dull, you are doing something wrong. If it is exciting to you, teach others. That doesn't mean you have to spend hours either, It means you can just do it a line or two. Just a line of text. And it doesn't have to be Torah, it can be Psalms or, Torah means anything.
Could be listening to Ora Torah.
Yeah, that's right. This is studying Torah. We are studying Torah.
Can I say that Benoit, in France they've got an amazing wealth of knowledge. Electronically, a website we can download shiurim of great rabbis, but the most fascinating topics, like a library, and you listen to them as MP3s in the train, that's amazing.
In French.
In French.
There's a lot of English websites.
But we have
There are English websites as well.
Yeah, so that's great. You can just do it as you're. Share with others the fullness of spirit that flows from your religious life. Give to others beyond measure. Just as no one has measured the great gifts you receive, give of yourself. Give time, not just money. Give directly, not just impersonally. Above all, give love.
Can you talk about those English websites? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Later.
Yeah.
if it's possible tefillah at the end.
Yeah.
Just Google it.
I can give you quite a few.
Danielle's got some.
Online.
I've got some too.
Okay, great. Personally, here, I would change the word religious for religion.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's interesting that that word has a thing. But
What would you call it? The word religious? What's spiritual?
We could have hours of debate of what the two words mean, but that's
great. That could be a key Ora Torah session.
keep going.
Sheila Weinberg, she works at the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, and they have all sorts of stuff to listen to. Really good lectures on Jewish meditation.
I have a pragmatic question.
Okay.
If you open the Siddur and you do the obligatory 3 prayers a day, some of the commentary before you get into the actual prayers say that there are some great rabbis who would meditate and contemplate for half an hour before they first
Some great rabbis,
rabbis, yeah.
who
would meditate
yeah.
and contemplate to prepare themselves for tefillah.
Yeah.
Now it seems to me that's a big chunk of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I often ask myself, is it better to daven, to do tefillah, or is it better to meditate? Am I distracted? Am I taking something away from one area? Or am I supplementing it with another area? I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. It depends upon one's life patterns and whatever other obligations you have. But I always get the feeling that people, when they go into meditation, seem to use it as a tool to deviate from the responsibility that they have. I want to be a better person. I want to be more aware. I want to be more helpful. I want to be this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
But it's neglecting the day-to-day obligations that you have. Even though you would say, well, that doesn't make any sense, because if you're going to be kind to yourself and kind to others, you're fulfilling an obligation to a fellow human being. But that doesn't put bread on the table. Now, you may all cast stones at me, but this is a lifelong feeling that I've always had. And I've yet to find a methodology to be willing to accept both sides of the same coin. So, to read all of these things is lovely. It gives you a soft moment in your day. But you come back to the harsh realities of what you've got to do. And this does not, in my mind, prepare you for those situations. I'll now get off my soapbox.
No, that's a really good point, because those are the things that always come up when you say, well, we talked about this the first session. So you're sitting meditating. Why aren't you out giving blood and feeding the poor? And what's the thing? I mean, why?
I don't buy that, because there are a lot of things that you can do, and you can't do everything.
Right. The meditation that I've been talking about is to help you see more clearly. So I can start my day, and I'm kind of scattered all over. We've got lots to do, and we all have lots to do. We all have busy lives. The meditation, ideally, you're going to get up early and do it for an hour, but if you only have 5 minutes, you do it for 5 minutes. Even just sitting for a couple of minutes, it helps me to see more clearly what I should do first, what I should do next, how I should go. It's not, the meditation itself is not the thing. It's what it allows me to see more clearly.
But do you do this prior to Moda'ani or after Moda'ani? And do you say Moda'ani?
Moda'ani is when you wake up.
Moda'ani, as soon as I wake up.
Well, you're preparing yourself for the day.
Yeah, the thing is that you have the whole tefillah, the whole shacharit, is said that it's going up and then down. It's going up, so it's going from holier and holier,
that's why we read Tehillims to lift up our prayer, because Tehillims have a very valuable, God gave specific value to Tehillim. It said that when you read Tehillim, it's as if you were studying Torah, which is really unusual. But so, including, that's what it says. So including Tehillim in the Tefillah, and it's a bit everywhere, like Ashrei and these kind of things. So it brings you step by step, you're going up until the Amidah, and then you're going down. But it's down, you have to realize that the last thing, which is Alinu L'Shabeach, that's something that is prayed several times during the Amidah at Yom Kippur. So even though it's the last part, it's still really high. And so the whole Tefillah is structured to go up and to realize that we are moving to what? For example, the Shema. The Shema, you're supposed to read every word and to know what it means and to be conscious about each word. If you're not focused, you have to start again. If you tripped on a word, you have to start again. So it's very, I think, the whole Tefillah is structured in this way. That's why rabbis, I'm not surprised rabbis were meditating to prepare themselves. I have to say that for my Tefillah, I'm not perfect, but I put my tefillin every morning, but I do just the Shema. I don't have time to do more, but I don't have time to meditate, to prepare myself. And I'm often thinking about it, I'm stressed because I know that I will be in a rush. I know that I will not be focused for the Shema. I know that I will not be I will think about not missing my bus. And but still I'm doing it because that's the harsh reality as you're saying. But at least every day I'm becoming more conscious and one day after another. And hopefully one day I'll be super focused. But yeah, it's just training, I think.
Yeah.
And also I'm thinking, like being focused, I like that word. Even when I think the difference between people doing a lot of good deeds, they are probably focused and they notice. And there's probably just a tiny difference between people rushing around and not noticing, and people rushing around but actually noticing little things and doing good deeds or helping other people, but just because they notice. But I think probably the main difference, they have that state, that sort of meditative state, sort of all the time. They are sort of aware of what's happening around and they notice, so they're more open to do good deeds, to help the others. So I think the two things are sort of interrelated. They're not exclusive. Yeah. But I think the two, like for prayer, the two.
And also for the for example the Shema, when I realized that when you tripped on a word you have to start again, I realized that I listened to Shior, downloaded MP3, that the Yetzer Hara of reading the Shema, of someone who reads the Shema, is to read it fast. You should not read it fast. You should force yourself to read it slowly and to pronounce every word carefully. It is really hard. The Yetzer Hara of the Amidah is to be distracted, for example. But for the Shema, when you actually tripped on a word, and I know that you have to start again, I start again, I realize that I actually waste more time being in a rush and having to start again than reading it slowly. But it's really hard to do.
That's a good example of just preparation. So, the more you prepare for what you have to do, the better it is. Instead of just doing it.
And I listened to Shiur on the Kohanim, what the Kohanim used to do. They used to do things very structurally, everything was structured, and they were doing it very slowly, so that when they would do it afterwards, they would do it really fast and really well. Basically, you can compare it with Tai Chi, very slow movements, or learning Kung Fu, this kind of thing is very slow, you're very slowly, but then you know it's very very well. And then if you have to do it fast, you do it very fast. Basically, that's an example to say that this is how the Kohen Gadol used to do. In
Yeah,
the
the
temple.
experts say, you know, if you had 10 hours to cut down a tree, you'd spend 9 hours sharpening his axe.
These other things, oh sorry. Oh no, I was going to say that there are some other things that if I had done that I make time to try and do, like it may be meditation or it has been for me swimming or yoga or walking. But swimming, swimming because you can hear your breath. In a way, to me, is like meditation because you're just focusing on that. And but you know, whether it's walking and listening to your own breath because it's, you know, 6 in the morning and there's no one else around, or meditation or yoga or swimming, I do see the day differently. Like, it's still just as chaotic, but I don't feel as chaotic. So it's different. You just feel that clarity more. And you can feel it when you haven't done something like that for a while. Everything feels very foggy and heavy, you know? Yeah.
Is that helping you? JoEllen?
Having been a very, very busy person, what I found at that stage that was helpful was something that actually I learned from the philosophy house in our street. Practical philosophy. It's something that they call sattva, which is really being in the moment and meditating for very short periods of time. So, for example, while you're standing there brushing your teeth, you can meditate and concentrate on the fly dropping on the mirror in front of you. It doesn't really matter what you focus on.
No.
And you do it only for like 30 seconds. I found that I could fit those things. Not the fly dropping, but, you know, just standing for a second before you put that key in the lock and looking at what the mezuzah. Just for 30 seconds, but being there in the mezuzah, paying attention, and then walking in. So it actually was workable. And the 3 hours that the rabbi spent, there are discussions in Judaism about whether those great rabbis that spent an awful long time doing learning and not actually spending this time with the people around them, neglecting their family, neglecting their wife, neglecting their children, whether they were actually tzaddikim or not. Good question about it.
9 o'clock. So you are welcome to just take these and look at them or leave them or get the best. I want to finish with a chant, so we'll finish with the Shalom chant. Chanting is really great meditative device as well, I find. So this is just Shalom. 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 Shalom.